Yeah.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jim Morgan. I'm the producing artistic director at the very ever so virtual York Theatre Company. We're virtuous and virtual, I guess. We're delighted to have you with us for the latest installment. It's the latest installment of a newly titled series called In the Pipeline. Writers discussing their new works. And we're delighted to have with us our Associate Artistic Director, Mr. Jerry McIntyre, and the writer in question. There's no question. He's a wonderful writer, wonderful friend. Mr. Granville Burgess is with us. And the director of the show in discussion is with us, Mr. Mark Graham. Welcome, everyone. Welcome, everyone watching. And let's get right into it. The show is a country carol. When I first heard the title, I thought, oh, great. A country version of A Christmas Carol. I'm not exactly high on my list of things to get excited about it. And when I got to know it, and when I got to, first of all, knowing that Granville wrote it, I immediately felt comfortable because we've done wonderful things with him, notably Conrack, which Jerry Mack was in. Jerry, do you want to talk about that?
When I heard that you wrote this, Granville, I was so excited to see and hear it because I just love doing Conrack. It's one of those things when you get to do a show for such a short time, you never get to really live that. So I want to revisit that while I'm still alive. Is that possible, you think?
Boy, yeah. Let's just get producing.
Yeah,
love having you in there. That was a great experience at the York. Everybody did a great job there.
Yeah.
Stuart Ross directed it.
Yeah.
Yes,
and tell us, do your elevator speech about Conrack before we get into A Country Carol, Granville.
Well, it's based on The Water is Wide. And it was God, I'm having a senior moment here of who's the author, Mark? Oh my gosh. We're going here, but
I'll do a little research. It'll come to me.
Anyway, it's about his experience going to teach on the Defusky Island off of the coast of South Carolina when he was a young, rebellious 69-year-old guy. And he gets fired because he goes against the authorities. It's a great sort of 60s, rebellious show. But he falls in love with these great African-American kids. And there's this great group that Jerry was part of old folks, we call them, or the older people on the island. And so, I mean, it's great. Thank you.
Pat Conroy. Yes, of course. Wonderful writer of many different things.
Yeah.
Jerry Mack is not an old person.
No, he's not an old person. No, we had
even 10 years ago when we did the shows.
Yeah.
well, all I'm saying is we better do it soon.
Yeah. Now, Mark, do you know Conrack? Have you?
No, that's one piece I have not seen. Or I wanted to come to see it, but I was not able to do it. So
well, we'll forgive you because you're here.
I do know the movie, but I don't know the music.
One of the wonderful theater experiences of my life was I directed it in Pat Conroy's hometown, and his family came and his widow came, and they were very moved by it. And it was just a great thing. And it was, a non-union cast of people from the churches and, of course, casting young African-American children who can sing and dance is a challenge, and especially in Beaufort, South Carolina, but we pulled it off. It was really a great experience.
That was after we did it.
Yes, it was after you did it.
A few years afterwards. Well, now to the matter at hand, to the show at hand, A Country Carol. I was delighted the more I talked with you about it, finding out about how it came to be. And first of all, would you all give a little bit of history when you started writing it, where it's been done, in what size productions, and all of that? Granville, do you want to go first?
I started writing this when I lived in Swarthmore near Philadelphia a while ago. So in the 90s, I guess, or something like this. It's been in the pipeline a while. It had a production in Philadelphia, a sort of a more or less a full one, and then in Greenwich. And then we did this workshop at Theater Artists Workshop in Connecticut, which is what the video clips are from, that workshop that Mark directed. We're
very lucky to have those to help tell the story and show little bits of it. Even though it's a reading, it's extremely helpful to see it staged, even very simply. So, Mark, when was that reading?
Well, I'm going to say it's probably 5 years ago now, I think. It was, we were looking for a benefit for the Theater Artists Workshop, and for the longest time we had done Truman Capote's A Christmas Memory and A Holiday Memory, and we decided we wanted to do something different. And Granville said, well, I have my Country Carol, and my first response was yours. Oh, I'm not sure about that. But I read it, and I was really charmed by it. And of course, it was, we were a workshop. These are all working actors who live in Connecticut but commute back and forth to New York, and we got enough together, and we said we're going to pull it off. And with an intense rehearsal period, with everybody committing their time, we were able to pull it off.
Mark, where in Connecticut is the theater?
The theater it started in Westport, Connecticut. We moved to Norwalk because Westport rents were a little too high, but. Yeah, it was started by Keir DeLay, and we've had many members who have come and gone, and Joanne Woodward, et cetera, who have all been members and working actors. We lost the space recently just due to, everything.
You know that feeling.
Yes. And with the group is looking towards actually moving up to the more expensive part of Greenwich, but trying to find a home there. Moment.
Wow, maybe we should try that, Jim.
moving to Norwalk,
where there's lots of wealthy people who like to go to the theater and like to support it. There you go. Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Westport Country Playhouse. I guess it's not country anymore. Westport Playhouse has done very well in that neighborhood with wonderful support from the community. So. Who knows? We'll see. As most people know, our theater was flooded about a month ago, almost exactly a month ago. And for the first time in 30 years, we're completely moved out of there, St. Peter's Church, and we're waiting to see what will happen as they begin remediation of the space. We're trying to assess where we will be, where we can be, and how long it will take to get back there. But people have been extremely supportive, and we appreciate it very much. But on to A Country Carol. So, Granville, what gave you the idea to write this? Was the title immediate? Well, what triggered the whole thing?
Well, I looked around, and every theater in the country was doing A Christmas Carol, and I thought, gee, well, maybe I'll do A Christmas Carol. And then I thought, they're all doing the same old Dickens thing, and to me, I love it, and it's a great ghost story. But I was interested in something that had a little more emotional impact or possibility, anyway. So I immediately thought I wanted to write a adaptation of it as a love story. So because I don't know. The other one is wonderful and scary and ghost stories and all this other stuff, but I wanted, heart. So that was the first impulse. And then since I'm from South Carolina, I love the country, and I love country music. And it's interesting because the title, I don't know, it may lead you astray. It's not like it's all country music, because it isn't. It's a mix of Broadway and all kind of styles. Jazz is a melange of musical styles. So I don't know.
How many shows have you written? Had you written when you wrote this?
Well, I started out as a dramatic playwright. I guess my first play, The Freak, ended up off Broadway, and then I wrote about 3 or 4 more dramas, and one of them took me to the Walnut Street Theater, and then so I decided to leave New York, and I was one of these people who wanted to have his children not in New York City. So I got a job at the Walnut Street Theater running the theater school there. And so I'd actually started out writing musicals when I first started writing, but they were children's musicals. And I have a company called Quill Entertainment Company. It's a nonprofit, and we have toured history musicals to schools and other places forever and ever. And also through Quill, I've been able to co-produce with the York and produce in Beaufort and do other things. So I've always been interested in using history in drama and music. So before I wrote this one, then and also with Conrack, I was just a book writer on that one. So I had done that one before I started writing this one. So that's briefly what I did. A lot of children's musicals, Conrack, and then this one.
But was this your first time writing music?
When I did my first, no, for these children's musicals, I kind of wrote music. I did write it. That's when I first started. I call myself a melodist. I don't really know how to sit down. I can play a little bit of piano, and mainly rock and roll, but I can't, arrange. So I can create melody. So I had done that for some of the children's shows, but it's the first time I wrote the music for an adult show. I had just done, I wrote a musical to celebrate the opening of the Oklahoma Land Rush in the 100th anniversary of it. And I did it out in Oklahoma, and I went to the composer and said, I want to write a Christmas Carol musical adaptation. And she said, well, you do all this music practically yourself. Here's my arranger. Go use him and do it yourself. And so I did. And it's great.
And I loved what you said about the range of musical styles within it. And was that your intent when you started writing, or did it just happen as you got into the story?
It just happened. I mean, the way I just melodies land in me as I walk around and think and things like that. And so I'm not, I just did what the material seemed to dictate. Without regard to style or whatever.
Mark, when did you get to know this piece? Was it after the initial productions?
Yes, he had done the production, I guess, in Greenwich, and we talked about this, and he talked ahead of time. And actually, I was looking for a theater that might want to do Christmas Carol, that might want to do this in a fuller production. But then when it wasn't happening, I said, well, let's do it for this benefit, and we pulled all the pieces together, and it was, Granville is multi-talented here on this show in particular, with the lyrics and the book and and the music, and it was quite fun to work with our members and to pull the show together into some kind of a stage reading that the audience could appreciate.
Mr. McIntyre, as a director, choreographer, you and I are both just barely getting to know this, but would you agree with me that there is promising material here for if it were able to be staged as a full production?
I did the Christmas Carol. I was Christmas present at Madison Square Garden for the last 3 years. The big one with.
Oh, really? Oh, yeah.
I did it with Tim Curry first and Jim Dale, and it's huge, and it's so the story doesn't come through there. So when I heard yours, Granville. It was refreshing not to have all that stuff, all that other stuff. It's just such a great take on it. And I think it's real. I mean, they paid me a lot of money over the Christmas Carol, but yours is better.
We don't pay a lot of money, particularly since we're homeless now. But how did it begin to move away from just a country-ish retelling of Dickens' story, the famous Dickens story? I remember you telling me about going through a divorce, which affected how you began to approach the story, but other things in your life that also helped you do a new take on it.
Yeah, well, one of the things I decided to do early on was I love the theater, and so I made Evan a song and dance guy, and so that opened up a lot of fun things theatrically, and it led me to do some vaudeville numbers and research that whole period. It takes place at the turn of the, in the 1900s, going into the 20th century, basically. And
it's set initially in.
Well, it's set both in West Virginia, in a holla in West Virginia, and then in New York City, those two locales. So I got to put my theater love in it. And I didn't, I mean, as the way art works, it's not like I said, I'm going to use my divorce on the stage here or something, but it sort of bled through. What happened was I wanted to, the more I started writing it, the farther I got away from Dickens, and the more I wanted to keep getting away from him. So once I decided there's going to be a love story, and then I decided he's going to be a theater man, and then I decided it's going to be in the country because I like the country aspect of it, and I like the story of a hick from the holla making it big on Broadway. My story. No. But that appealed to me, and then the other things about the divorce sort of bled into it because I have two daughters. They're now grown up, but then they were young. And so I decided to make Tiny Tim into a girl called Tina, and her whatever disease or the reason she needs a crutch or her wound or whatever you want to say is that she's lost her daddy. So this was the divorce thing bleeding in. And so I got to sort of tap into what it felt like I imagined for my girls to not have me around as much as I normally would have been. And also for me to be missing them or something. So that gave me the song, Do I Believe in Santa Claus, which is sung by Tina. And, since she doesn't have her father and she's never had one, she doesn't believe in Santa Claus. So, and then at the end, they get to, father and daughter get to sing that they do believe in Santa Claus. So it's a sort of a nice arc that way.
How big is the cast ideally? And how small could it be done if it had to be?
I don't know, Mark, you might have an opinion here. I think we did it with 11 people there. They're like 6 principals, I think.
I think we could have done it. 16, you probably could do the show.
We were
really skimpy with our choruses and things like that.
Granville, you found a synopsis from in your files that you shared with us earlier, which I think is a wonderful setup for what we're talking about. Can you?
I'll read it. Yeah.
Can you sing that for us?
A Country Carol. A Country Carol uses the basic outlines of the Dickens classic A Christmas Carol to tell the love story of a talented songwriter, Eben, and his mountain woman wife, Belle, in the early 1900s America. Eben loses his soul to fame, fortune, and infidelity when he becomes a star of the Great White Way. But the three spirits of past, present, and future help him to return to his true self and the woman and mountain home he loves.
Very nice. Very nice.
Yeah.
Succinct, as we say. Maybe we should jump into the first number, which is the opening number, Would you like to set that up for us?
Sure. It's called Christmas Is, and it's 3 different versions of what Christmas is. Scrooge obviously has, or Eben has his mean-spirited version of it, and basically it's just all about money is the way I made it for him in this show. And then there's a mother and a daughter. This is from Dickens. There was a mother and daughter in the early scenes, and then another crowd. So they're 3 different versions of Christmas, what Christmas is. And the challenge for me as someone who can't sit down at the piano and just write out all these melodies was to create 3 different melodies and make them able to go against each other and have them all in my brain somehow and figure out that they were the same rhythm or this rhythm would fit in with that rhythm and everything. So it's one of the things I'm sort of maybe most proud of, that I pulled this off. Thanks to a great arranger, Joe Fitzmartin. But anyway, so
and how did you work with Joe? You don't do notation. You just hear it in your head and you sing it into something, or you sing it to him?
Both. I sang it into a cassette recorder, I think. But I would say things, I want chords here, or, let's modulate or change keys here if we can. And, I would like this musical effect here or something like that. Or he would give me, well, they could be this chord, or that chord, and I make a choice about which one sounded best to me. So
very interesting working relationship.
Oh my gosh, it was fascinating. He's brilliant. And anyway, I was
what's his name again?
Joe Fitzmartin in Philadelphia.
So Mark, you got to know him when you were working on the show?
Yes. Yeah.
That was John Craven that you knew, Mark.
Oh, John Craven, right, that's right. He was the executioner.
He was a second person. He came on board in Greenwich, but anyway. But he was also wonderful. I mean, he helped with the rewrites and the arranging of those and everything. But yeah, thank goodness for people who know how to do that.
Absolutely. You're part of a long line of untrained musicians writing musical theater. So it amazes me that what people can create, it doesn't have to be a stumbling block. If it's up here, and if it's in your heart, it can come out one way or another on the page. Let's hear Christmas Is.
Christmas is a time for family.
Ah, humbug! Look around you, Gloria. The so-called Christmas spirit has bowed its head to Mammon. Fill up the stockings, pile the presents high. The word for the Christmas spirit is B-U-Y. Christmas is a time when every storekeep in the land can jack up honest prices, stealing money from your hand. A time to celebrate fools acting crazy as a loon. A time to tolerate fools singing carols out of tune. When people get all gooey at the first sign of a flake, Christmas is a humbug, it's a fake.
Christmas is the time when there is joy in every heart, when sorrow must be banished and the kindness must depart. If once you read your eyes right and erase your land, if once you let your mind and join our jolly Christmas plan, you come to the conclusion that your uncle is all mine. Christmas is an anthem, it's a flame.
It's a nuisance, it's a bother, and I'm sad to say that things are rather worse. Christmas!
Christmas every, all the sounds of Christmas every, aren't you glad it's Christmas everywhere?
It's a curse!
I see what you mean about doing that in your head without being able to work it out on paper.
Yeah, right. It was.
It's great, Granville. It's like the quintet from West Side Story.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. Let's move on. There's a song called Hog Heaven, which is worth it for the title alone. Talk about the impetus of writing that song and what we are seeing here, what we will be seeing here when we see the clip.
Well, when I was doing my research about country people, I kind of knew that, there was such a thing as hog slaughtering, and they did it every year and things like that. But so I thought, oh, well, let's see what that's about. So, and then what I learned was that they really eat the whole pig, the whole hog. I mean, and it's a one-time a thing. It's a kind of a ceremonial thing when they do it in the fall when they kill the pig. But I made it into so I took that idea and made it into the fact that they really loved this pig, Bubba, and named it, but enjoyed eating all of him, because I ran across this phrase that, the country people ate everything but the squeal. So I turned that into all that I left you was the squeal. So this is an ode to all the parts of Bubba that they have enjoyed eating. And I thought it was a great way to introduce the country folk in the hollow.
Okay, let's watch this, and then Mark, we'll talk with you about it. Here we go. Here's Hog Heaven.
Jedediah, he was your pig. You should do the honors.
Well, folks, y'all know how I was real close to Bubba.
Yeah.
When I think of the way he used to come trotting across the lawn, his little pig's feet just a-skipping.
Oh, praise the Lord.
And the way he'd grunt when I stroked his whiskers. Oh, Jed, I can't, Gretch.
Oh, all right. I'll start us off then. Thank you, Bubba, for your butter. Thank you, Bubba, for your hands. They roasted up real tasty.
Amen. You trying with my mama's jam?
I sure did. I thought your 4 foot was fantastic.
A little tough around the heel.
Hey.
Oh, Bubba, when I was through, but you went up on you. All that I left you was your squeal.
I think I can handle it now, Cratch. I can just move it along a little. Thank you, Bubba, for your bacon. Thank you, Bubba, for your tongue. I tried it with your small intestine, seasoned with your little lung.
I loved your lung.
You folks don't know how much I loved him. You don't know exactly how I feel. Oh, Bubba, best hog yet that I done ever ate. I even gobbled up your squeal.
And now Bubba's in hog heaven. He's in hog heaven. Hog heaven's where his journey ends. Good old Bubba's in hog heaven. Hog heaven. Hog heaven with his other friends. Oh, bless you, Bubba, you're in hog heaven. You're in hog heaven. We're here to sing and testify that we're all glad you're in hog heaven. Hog heaven. That blessed pig then in the sky. See ya, Bubba.
Now, Mark, first of all, were you acquainted with hog slaughtering and all of that?
Not at this time, but I have to say, as I've moved down here to Florida, I had to go to a hog auction for the Farmers of America. I didn't know what I was doing. I heard people bid 2.5, and I thought like $2.50 for the hog, and I bid $3.50. I thought I was going to be, but that was per pound, and the hog was almost 500 pounds. So I had to pay a lot of money for the hog, and then I had to find someone to butcher it, and then for our company, I gave a big barbecue and so I learned a lot, let me say. And I thought of the song many times while I was learning, and I was a green, New Englander down here Central Florida has a lot of farmers down here.
Well, yeah, I neglected to ask where everyone was, which I love to do when we do these Zoom things. It's amazing to hear where people are. So you're in Florida. Whereabouts in Florida?
Well, I'm in Winter Haven, which is in the middle of, it's about 25 miles from Disney, I guess you might say, but inland. And that's where my office is at this time.
And Granville, where are you?
I'm on a Longboat Key, which is a key near Sarasota. I'm just here for a week here, but
that place.
Oh, it's beautiful. Yeah, fantastic sunset here over the bay, over the Gulf of Mexico.
And Mr. McIntyre?
I'm in Midtown, New York City.
Okay.
Me too. You're on the west side. I'm on the east side. So
I wish I was in Florida so I could be warm, you guys. I'm jealous.
Yeah, we're lucky.
Yeah.
Every day. Yeah. What are we going to do?
But now talk about the coffin in the scene. Was that an artful way of not having to show a pig carcass?
Yeah, it was, and I think you had it from another production, did you not? Yes,
I did. I've carried that. I still have it in my shed. I love that coffin. It's followed me everywhere.
And while we couldn't do full value to the production, but I think it's a fun number, and you can see it in a mini Oklahoma or in one of those shows that it's really fun to do, and everybody loves it as well.
Mark, you're gonna have to tell me how you got the pig home after the show.
I didn't know how I was going to do it, but immediately they had people there bidding. I had to take someone to butcher him. In other words, they'd take the pig for me, so it could get butchered, and then they would have it frozen, and I could have it anytime I wanted it. It's a whole new world here.
Oh my God! It makes me not want to have bacon again.
Oh my God, that's great. I'll give it.
Now there's a song I love, but we don't have time to hear it tonight. Getting the heck out of the holla. Can you tell us a little bit about that, Granville? It's when he decides to leave.
Yeah, Eben, he's a songwriter, and he gets to have an audition with this sort of traveling producer in vaudeville or whatever, who's desperate for anybody, and he hires Eben. And then so he says, you're hired, blah, blah, blah. And he went there with his best friend, Cratch. Bob Cratchit becomes Cratch, who is the minister in the holla, and who's also, it's a love triangle. He loves Belle, but he can't tell her. But so he's in this number two. But anyway, he once he is hired, he says, "Oh man, I'm getting the hell out of the holla." Oh, the heck out of the holla. I changed it too for, I don't know, general audiences, or the fact that because I figured, maybe he's Christian or something, since he's from the mountains, he wouldn't say hell. I don't know. But also let it happen. So at the end of Act One, when he decides never to go back there again, he gets to use the word hell about it. So that was it. I mean, the challenge, it's good because you get to hear what Eben's dream is, sort of, mainly around money. Well, I was just trying to scroll through here and see a couple of the lyrics if I could get to the song here. Here we go. But, farewell to boll weevil weather. That's a fun one to sing. Farewell to rainwater stews. Hello to houses with parlors and bathtubs big as bayous. Putting some miles on my leather. And when I wake up in the morning, it won't be at the break of day. I'll get up maybe 10:30, have coffee with a pound of cream. When I lay me down to sleep, won't be in a bed of hay. I'll rest me up on eiderdown and dream and dream and dream of clothes you can buy in a store, of carpets a covering the floor, of beefsteak and beer with my financier, and a pair of underwear without a flap in the rear. So,
that's wonderful. That's wonderful. Mark, when you were there changes as you worked on it? I assume it was a relatively quick process.
Production, but we did do changes, and we worked ahead of time. This was a workshop in which we had many authors and writers, and I like development, and so it was good. We really detailed the script and knew what we could present in our limitations, and we would cut things because it just wouldn't fit, or we couldn't make the event happen. So.
And Mark, I don't even know, one of the things I have, one of the themes is that one of the problems that, as the ghosts say, one of the problems with being dead is that you can't feel anything anymore. And Eben is basically like, once he loses Belle, he's like, I don't want to feel anymore. I'll just take money and I don't have to feel, keep feelings away from me. But there was a song that the ghost sang, if you can feel. It's great if you're able to feel, if you can feel. But Mark suggested after the workshop that I cut it, and I did cut it in this thing, thinking that maybe the ghost shouldn't sing. It's just in dialogue now, but I still do like the idea that Eben.
He's going to put it back in. That's what he's saying now. He's going to put it back in.
Now that he's not under your thumb.
No, I can't control it.
Right. Yes, right. We miss our songs, don't we?
The next song on the list is Listen to the Land. And I love the spirit of it. Can you talk about where it is in the story and how you came to create it?
Well, I grew up in Granville, South Carolina. I went to the mountains near my home. The top of the mountains is actually like only 50 minutes away or something, the Blue Ridge Mountains. So I spent a lot of time there. And I'm in love with the land there. And so I was channeling that love for this. And the idea is that, as this lyric says, if you listen to the land, you'll know your home. But basically, if you listen to the land, if you listen to your roots, you won't lose yourself. You'll always know who you are, is kind of what the song is saying. And it had, first Eben used to sing it in the earlier version, but then I realized in this one, Belle, he's going to New York, but she sings it to him, basically sort of saying, don't ever forget the land and who you really are. Okay, Eben. And so they sing this duet about listening to the land, which I don't know, I'm extremely fond of this piece. I wish it could, I keep thinking some country stars or somebody could turn it into a great duet.
It feels like that. Yeah. You also mentioned it as a possibility, a Greenpeace like environmental song.
I feel like it would be a great, song or something like Greenpeace. That you could change the lyrics just a little bit, but yeah, it really it says what they're about, or any of these environmental groups could be about. If they'd adopt it for their theme song, it'd be great.
Let's listen to the land.
When I listen to the land, listen to the lark, listen while the bullfrogs serenade me after dark, then I know I'm home. When I listen to the land, when I hear the mountain wind blowing off the peaks, hear the crashing water playing anthems in the creeks, then I know I'm home. When I hear the mountain wind, I soar like a hawk on each melody's rhyme. My heart strings beat time and again. My soul wants to dwell in this moment of time forever and ever. Amen. When I listen to the land, listen to the trees, rustling out their song of life in peaceful harmonies, then I know all that matters is to know, and I know when I listen to the land. Oh, Evan, remember all the sounds we heard from Bald Rock?
Oh, 23 was a record, wasn't it?
You said something so magical once. Up here, you hear symphonies in the silence.
I remember.
Do you really, Evan?
I hear the mountain wind blowing off the peaks, hear the crashing water playing anthems in the creeks, then I know when I hear the mountain wind. When I hearken to the sound of a hound dog's growl, hearken to the symphony of questions from the owl, then I know when I hearken to the sound. I soar like a hawk on the wings of a prayer. Give thanks for this evening within. My soul wants to dwell in this moment we share forever
and ever. Amen. When I listen to the land, listen to the trees, rustling out their song of life in peaceful harmonies, like a star high in God's dome. All that matters is wherever we may roam. If we listen, we will always know we're home. When we listen to the land.
That's gorgeous. That's gorgeous. I see exactly what you mean. I think it has Morgan Wallen's name on it.
Okay.
That was a little joke.
All right.
He's no relation. There was something, if I hadn't been being a smartass, I would remember what I was thinking of. It's very touching. The sweetness of it is really wonderful.
I think I might. I was thinking about my epitaph being, when I hear the mountain wind blowing off the peaks, hear the crashing water playing anthems in the creeks, then I know I'm home when I hear the mountain wind.
Wow.
Very nice.
Gorgeous. Gorgeous.
Thanks.
One of the interesting things, as you said, is the multiple styles of music throughout the show, and there's a vaudeville element to the show. Do you want to talk about that? We don't have time to hear any of those songs, but can you talk about that element and what it was like to explore that in the course of this?
Yeah, I love reading all the vaudeville sketches and trying to find some that we could put into these. I try various different jokes, and the number is called Po White Trash. And so I didn't know if I could write a number about Po White Trash without offending some people or anything, but I've stuck with it all these years. So I guess I'm still sticking with it, but I sort of, I took away a lot of the number to throw in more jokes or something like that. Maybe it would help it out. And I managed to take one of the jokes and turn it into a lyric, and that, which the girl Marka Lee sings, Mark, but and that was funny because I'll never forget the way, because the joke is that she's a young thing married to an older guy, and she's worried about his heart going when they start commencing, because she says, but you know, I'm kind of vigorous. The way she said vigorous, I just love the way she did that. And he says to her, the joke is, look, he says, honey, don't worry about it. If you die, you die. You know, so like,
when I saw that clip, that was the word that stuck out in my brain. It was like, wow, I have to use vigorous more often. That's a great word.
It is, yeah. So anyway, it was fun researching those and making them into musical numbers. You know, the theater, it was great.
Neat. moving on, the one of the things you worked into the story, the basic Dickens story, is the love conflict, which, as you said, there's not much of that in the original.
Right.
How did you do that? And there's a song that touches on that. Do you want to talk about how you went about?
Yeah, it did give a lot of. I mean, basically, what happens is he gets to say he hates Christmas in the context of Belle not wanting to do what he wants and move to New York with him so he can be a star, but she wants to stay home, etc. So that's kind of the little scene that we're about to see. And I thought it was good that we got to, it was really clear. I liked having him be able to say that to her and to sort of put them on opposite sides. And then the clip after that, we'll see, we'll hear him sing reprise. We missed you. He reprises the getting the hell out of Holla, because what happens is he's a star in the opening thing, and Belle Cratch goes home because he doesn't like what is going on in rehearsal between Eben and Lydia. So he goes and gets Belle and brings her up there to opening night without telling Eben. And Eben's a big hit, and he's drunk and he's going around and he's sort of this big, huge kiss with Lydia in front of Belle. And then so she sort of says, "That's it, forget about it," and whatever. And then so he gets the reprise at the end of Act One, getting the heck out of the Holla, basically singing, "I'm never going back there again." And you'll see in the clip there's two, so that's the second clip. But the ghost have him control things. He comes on there and he makes the piano cut off and the lights go off or something. I thought that was kind of fun. He shows up in the corner of the screen. But so, yeah.
It goes right from one to the other? Is that?
Well, no, but you can play them both together.
So
let's
watch the first one about.
He's just his breakup scene with Belle.
Yeah, going to New York. Here we are.
I'm not going to New York with you, Eben. I don't mean ever. I can't go with you right now.
Why not?
It's just not a good time.
Oh, last time wasn't a good time. No, this time ain't a good time.
Eben, I am.
Look, Belle, Jake told me that Clyde Fitch made like $10,000 from one song.
I don't care about the money, Eben.
Well, you know, I do, okay? I care about Ma and Pa dead before they turn 40. I care about you up here gathering pokeweed for salad. Leaving the Holla was our dream.
Your dream, Eben. Just be home for Christmas.
I can't.
You promised you'd never miss another Christmas.
Well, what if the show's a hit? I can't just walk out. I'm the star. Well, let's spend Christmas in New York.
I can't.
Can't. Or won't.
Eben, let's go up to Ball Rock. We can...
Look, I know what the land is saying. It's saying, whatever happened to my wife?
Don't.
Through thick and through thin.
Eben!
Till death do us part? Fine. You want to stay in this godforsaken place, go right ahead. I'm going to New York.
Just be home for Christmas.
I hate Christmas.
Eben!
Wow.
Yeah. She's starting to tell him she's with child there, but he cuts her off. So that's the daughter he doesn't even know he's going to have.
So he doesn't find out until...
No, until the ghost Christmas present takes him back to the hall and says, "This is your daughter," but he can't talk to her or anything. He can't reach her, and it's very painful for him, of course.
Mark, did you enjoy exploring these characters?
Yes, and this is not your Dickens Christmas Carol, and so Granville's mind has allowed it to go places, and I think the audience, the comments we got back is it was, they accepted it. It was fun, but of course it's contrary to everything that they're expecting, and so there are surprises along the way. So that's kind of interesting.
Was there were people disappointed in it?
We got some people who wanted, the traditional Christmas Carol, but I think most of the people that came really enjoyed the journey. Okay, at Granville.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always been I mean, I think that's the challenge of getting it produced. People are just so into the traditional Christmas Carol that it's hard to get them to think about anything else. I think, even though this is an American one, which I think should be something in its favor. But
for me, that's a big plus. But who am I to say?
You're a producer. That's who you are to say.
That's true. That's true. Let's listen to the next number. How would you set this up?
This is just the end of Act 1 when after the big party and he's a hit and everything, and after the kiss, Belle has just gone off stage and said, forget it, or if you don't come home, it's all over, sort of. And anyway, she sings this song. I don't know. It'll be interesting, Mark, whether you think it works. I'm just an old mountain woman. The point is that she embarrasses Eben in front of all his New York friends. And it used to be just in dialogue. So I wrote her a song that is in the workshop that we did called An Old Mountain Woman. She goes to the various people and, sort of is as mountainy as she can be in order to sort of get back at Eben, I guess, and claim who she is. And anyway, so it's after she sings that. And there's a whole theme there's this musical phrase I made up called, it's in Listen to the Land too, but I made up this bird called a swallow lark. And this phrase is that when the swallow lark is weeping for some people, and then he sings when you're whole again, and it starts to weep if you lose your way. I forget the exact phrase in the musical, but so you'll actually hear it in various places. I think you hear it here too.
Now, is that a bird that you made up? Or?
Yeah.
Oh,
there's no swallow lark bird, but I just like this musical motif. Anyway, it's useful to use it there, like with Tina and things too. And people are always referring to the swallow lark in there. So.
Wonderful. Let's hear this. The end of Act 1.
The swallow lark is weeping for me. That's myth. Mountain myth from an old mountain woman. Nothing's crying for me. And I sure won't be crying for myself. Because when I wake up in the morn, will be at the break of day. I'll get up maybe 12:30. Have coffee laced with bourbon and cream. And when I lay me down to sleep, I'll be on a bed of hay. I'll rest me up on satin sheets and dream and dream and dream of closets crammed chock full of clothes, of drinking expensive Bordeaux's, of all-night soirees with chic divorcees atop their penthouse palaces with candles all ablaze, of having nobody to need and having no heartaches to heed, not feeling a thing, especially love's sting. The only sound that I'll be hearing, oh yes, the sound that I'll be hearing, the only sound that I'll be cheering will be my money doubling, tripling, let it sing. Never go back to the holler, never go back down there. Don't take no school teach scholar to know the holler's nowhere. If you were smart, you'd follow this moving on millionaire. Never go back to the holler, never go back to the holler. Stay in the hell out of the holler. Stay in the hell right here.
and Act 1.
Yeah.
And right here is New York, staying right here in New York, is what he's saying. Yeah. These actors are pretty wonderful, and I'm sorry I don't know the names. The names will come up at the end of the final clip, but it's very impressive what they did. I'm assuming, knowing how readings are done, in a very short amount of time. Mark, is that true? Do you remember how much time you had to prepare?
Because we were a workshop, okay, we could spend we spent more time. You know, we were a workshop that met on Monday nights, and we had access to our space, you know, as often as I could get actors together, and we had scenes that we could work on. We pulled it together. So we had a little bit more than you normally would have. It's not a 2-day, but, you know, I can't even tell you the time now. I can't remember exactly, but we had enough in our workshop. We could present some scenes, and then we finally put it all together so that we could present it.
But I mean, you produced musicals. It was, you know, it was a lot of
yeah. We did it. We did it quick and we did it fast. And the workshop, these are all young people in our workshop that were really enthusiastic, and they gave their all.
Yeah, we were lucky to find Will Strong, who played Eben. I thought that was, because for a while it was like, where are we going to get an Eben? Oh my gosh. Unfortunately, he walked in the door finally.
Of course, doing things quickly, reading, for example, is so much a part of actors' lives nowadays, particularly in New York. Jerry, do you want to speak to that? I mean, do you do more readings than?
The reading. I mean, I'm surprised that you know when we do Mufti at the York, it's so quick. It's so quick, and we have what, 2 weeks, right, Jim? 2 weeks.
Well, you have a week to learn it. I mean, learn it.
And then
learn how to carry your book while you're reading the lines out of it. And then it runs for 2 weeks. So as you get into the second week, you begin to get comfortable with it. And there are plenty of people say, can I put my book down now? And now it's legal with equity to do that. But going into it after really 4.5 days of rehearsal, it's terrifying. And I've never been, well, I have been in one actually, but not in any real way. But actors who have never done it before are lost with that kind of pressure and that little amount of time to work on this very difficult material. So it's so impressive. Go ahead.
Mark, who did the staging? Because in some of the clips I saw, they had a little choreography. Who did you do that?
I'm not a choreographer. We had, because we're a workshop, one of the actresses there had, we worked together just to give it a little bit. We felt we needed to suggest what could be, and that was the best we could do.
And it's great. I mean, it's really great. And what's her name?
Susan Jacobson.
Susan Jacobson, right? And she's an excellent dancer who has joined our workshop and has become more of an actress. But dance is hers. She got it. Oh, you just look at her and she says, "I know what you need."
Right.
That's the kind of choreographer you want. Second nature.
Let's move into Act 2 because it's not. We're well along in the story and what we have to show you. But Granville, will you tell us about what happens in Act 2?
Well, the Christmas present comes, and I made another decision and made her not only a ghost of her, but also made her Eben's mother. So she's really ticked off at what he's doing. And so she comes down from heaven or wherever to show him around Christmas present and make him shape up. So you'll see her, but she doesn't have any numbers or anything in this thing. But so that's basically it. She takes him back to the holla, and he sees what's going on there. And they sing a spiritual, because you got to have a spiritual in here. And because Cratchit in the church, and then there's a scene where Cratchit tries to, tell Belle, propose to her, say he loves her or whatever. And the fun thing about that is Eben and the ghost are in the scene, but he's watching Cratchit propose to his wife. He's saying, basically, we haven't heard from him. It's 10 years later. So, look, he might as well be dead, and well, why don't you just say he's dead and marry me? But Eben, he can't do anything except yell at Cratch and be, it's sort of a humorous scene. Mark did a good job of directing it that way. And the mother ghost is telling him, shut up and listen. And he's like, he's proposing to my wife. I mean, what is going on, and all that anyway, because they can't hear him. And so we have a lot of fun with that. And he also meets Tina, the daughter is 10 years later. She's 10 years old. As I said, Belle was trying to tell him she was pregnant, but he was too full of himself and going off to New York. So he doesn't even know he has this daughter. So he is shocked and moved and whatever. But she is unhappy, as I said, and sings, do I believe in Santa Claus? No, I don't. And so he hears her sing that, and Belle hears her sing that. And so there's that plot line with Tina in Act 2, which is the father-daughter plot line that I was talking about earlier. So those is sort of I don't know if I think those are the basic things that happen plot wise. He comes back and he's frustrated and he can't get through. And the other thing that, and so this song, Second Chances, which I always, we all think, oh, is there a second chance in life and whatever. So I decided to take that phrase and turn it into a song. And in this particular case, do you get a second chance at love if you really mess it up the first time around? So, and Belle sings it and she wonders if she gets one. And the choreography that Jerry was referring to is Eben. I think if we had more time I think this could be an amazingly wonderful choreographed number, because he longs to touch her, but he can't because he's not there on some level, but she senses he's there. I mean, she even says, Eben, it's like you're here. And so that's kind of chillingly cool, I think. And so anyway, they sing this song, she does, and he joins her about whether they will get a second chance at love. So that takes us up to that part.
Okay, here is Second Chances.
Lifetime, so much comes and so much goes. If not this time, then the next, something always comes along. And if sometimes you end up with fun, suppose, better safe than wrong. Life's a carousel of colors in a stream. If not this horse, then the next. Who knows what's around the bend? Spinning red and purple bursts like a dream. In a world without end. Second chances, the chances. There's always one more dance. But what happens if in love you never get your second chance? Soon you know your favorite horse from hoof to crown. With a strong yet gentle stride, he's the one you long to keep. How your soul sparks every time he comes around. Go ahead and leap. Then the doubts start creeping in, so soft and sly. If my leap leaves something left, if his heart is filled with pride, by the time you let your stallion pass you by, something grand has died. Second chances, the chances. There's always one more dance. What happens if in love you never get your second chance?
nothing sure.
But not everything's the same.
Second thoughts and second chances, have to say. What a waste.
What a shame. And then one day, as the chill of sorrow steams, they fold up the circus tent,
Pack the magic and move on.
Carousel Calliope no longer sings. And your horse is gone. Second chances, the chances, there's always one more dance. But what happens if in love you never get your never get your
Gorgeous.
That melody, Granville, is so gorgeous. It's so
Thank you.
beautiful.
Yeah. My wife loves that one too. I have to say, I like that a lot myself.
Yeah.
But Mark, you hated it, right?
No, not at all. Granville, of course, just bringing up the fact that you originally wrote it in the process of divorce, and that's where the song came from.
Yeah, right.
I really hadn't thought about it until now.
No, I know, right? I know. Yeah, it was what was going on. Interesting.
Yep.
Yeah, no, that's another song that should mention in that context for sure. So I like the idea, the carousel horse idea. You know, I was happy to have stumbled upon that or whatever. So.
But as a waltz, it is a waltz, correct?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It offers great choreographic possibilities, particularly with the idea that he can't touch her and she just senses him being there. Can you, Granville, can you set up our penultimate song, Count on It?
Well, I needed a song for Eben at his lowest, his most money grubbing self. So this is back to him in New York, and he's with his assistant. Actually, it's Lydia, with whom he had the affair. She's had a rough life in the theater, and she comes to his office and basically says, "Give me a job, any job, will you, please, please?" And he's so callous. He says, "Forget it. You're old. I'm not interested in you anymore." And so she's there when he sings the song, and basically what he says is, only thing I'm interested in is money, because you don't need to feel anything to have money. It doesn't ask anything of you. All it is just a thing that you can have. So it's like, I thought it was a good ode to money and who Scrooge has become, who Eben has become.
Ode spelled O-D-E, not O-W-E-D.
Right. Count on it. Yeah, it's called Count on It.
Money is the only thing I can count on, Lydia.
What happened to you?
This is what happened to me. A penthouse, a chauffeur, a country home, and all because of money. The only thing you can rely on. Squeeze it, stroke it, cast it aside, gather it in. Money doesn't care. It doesn't feel a thing. And that's just the way I like it. If I bought a little land in the countryside, would it start feeling all grand and dissatisfied? And feeling high and dry, cause I told it land I know you can count on it. It's for sure, you can count on it. Count on it. If I put my money down in the stock exchange, or my money where I frown, if my mind would change. Go into a state of shock, cause I bought another stock, or you can count on it. It's secure, you can count on it. Count on it. Some people claim that money isn't everything. You can go just as far with what loving can bring. But the only kind of feeling I can put in the clutch is the feeling that I get from the Midas touch. Feels just dandy to me. If I want to find your peace and tranquility, find a cradle, sweet like a luxury. Here's my chapter and my verse, put money in my purse. Yeah, you can count on it. For sun and rain, you can count on it. You've got everything to gain, you can count on it. Through thick and thin, you can count on it. Like the wages of sin, you can count on it. Like planets in the sky, like birds learning to fly, like hatred, warfare, pain until we die. Great God in heaven, you can count on it.
Da-da-da.
In Philadelphia, I had a 5-piece band, and that's my rock and roll song. That thing really is powerful when you got the drums going and the bass and everything. So
Wow.
that's a fun one. Yeah.
I bet. So we're to the end of the show. I loved what you told me about the biggest change from the original, that Eben or Scrooge doesn't see his own tombstone in the future, as in the Dickens. What does he see?
He sees the tombstone of Bell. In fact, if he doesn't change his, I mean, that's what lies in the future for him. He dies. And so it's a love story, and I don't know, I thought that was a great wallop of the heart, because it's much better than anyway, it's part of the love story that I like, and it's not all about him. And if he doesn't change his ways, so what? People won't Tiny Tim, that not to dismiss that, but since I just like the fact that Bell dies, and it's a real surprise for the audience, and I'm glad I did one more big change.
And did Dickens sue you?
He could. Anyway, yeah. And the nice thing is that she gets to sort of listen to the land a little bit from heaven, sort of in between in the scene when it happens and things. But so it's a nice musical moment too.
But he goes back to the holla.
Well, yeah, like in Dickens, I mean, we did do that. He wakes up in New York, and he discovers that it was all a dream. And so he, it's a la Dickens. The people that he had dismissed in the beginning in Christmas Is, and he didn't want to give any money to the Actors Fund. I made it. I should have made it at the York Theater. And then now he's giving the York Theater a lot of money. And, he says, and he turns to the actress and says, "You produced my show, Lydia, the one who he wouldn't give a job to. I'm going back. You take over all my theatrical career and producer and money and blah, 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 blah." And so he goes back to the holla. But I do, we didn't have time for it here, but I like this song that I wrote for the moment when he's in deep despair. And it's called "When the Music Stops." And it's basically, I think it's pretty dramatic, but what do you do when the music stops? Basically, when the flips don't flap, when the high note no longer pops, when your career is sort of over, or you reach the things that you can't do anymore, what do you do when the things you're able to do, you can't do anymore? And also when the music of your life stops. So that's what he sings, at his deepest moment. And then a la Dickens, he promises, God that he will reform if he'll just, let him come back to life or whatever it is. Feel again. That's what it wants. He just wants to be able to feel again. And at the end, he is able to feel. That's what kind of sort of wakes him up, I guess. Sorry, that was my wife getting an email. I'm on her computer.
Oh, I see.
Anyway, so yeah, he goes back to the holla and he says, "I'm going to stay here and I'm going to make music. And the music I'm going to make is called a country carol." So that's what we're going to hear.
Okay, here's the end of the show. Enjoy.
Music's gonna pour out of me like water over a funnel. Music for all of us to sing. Matter of fact, I started thinking of a song on the way over here.
Let's hear it.
All right, but y'all gotta help me out. I want to hear everybody's music. All right. I'm gonna sing me a country carol. All right. gonna grab me a note that'll open my throat. I'm gonna sing me a carol, country carol for you.
I'm gonna cook me a country snack cake.
I'm gonna snack me a layer or two.
When the guests come to call,
gonna dip out and draw. Y'all come eat now, you hear?
You know it.
I'm gonna cook me a snack cake, country snack cake for you.
Sing,
Sing, sing, a carol for you. Sing out for all I'm worth. Sing, 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 it makes me feel brand new. Make the noise just fine. Tap the rhythm and slap your thumb. I'm gonna sing out a carol, country carol for you.
Applause in the theater. Imagine that. Oh my goodness.
That was wonderful. Thank you very much. Jerry Mack, do you, well, any of you, let's talk about where this might be done next as a full production. Do you think it has to be done in the southern part of the country for it to resonate?
I don't. You know, the thing I love about it, the scene before that song, right? That you use the Dickens dialogue. You said, "Boy, what day is this? It's Christmas Day, sir." Which is, you know, which I think is great. It's a smart thing to do, because you hear like glimpses, or you refer to the old Dickens script, which is fantastic. So I think it's great for everyone. And I don't think it has to be like in the South or anything. I think it's just a great.
No. Maybe Central Florida. I am directing at Polk State University, and I'm doing this Great Gatsby. And I told the head of the department that I had to leave because I was going to be on the special York presentation. He says, "For what?" And he says, "Country Carol, that sounds like something we should be doing here." And so, you know, who knows? We have a full-size, it's a Broadway side stage, working with kids where they all wear their masks, they all stand 6 feet apart. We're following all the procedures. I think I'd like to get through all that before we do it. But I think it's, you know, one good production, and it should get published and should be done. You know, it should be done. Should be done.
I agree. Mark, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us. Jerry Mack, same thing. And
thank you so much for this opportunity to share it.
Fun. So much fun. I'll have to know when the next one's. When is your next? Do you have them scheduled regularly?
They will be scheduled regularly. We Seth Christenfeld, our literary manager, has done a couple, but we will schedule them regularly now that we have a title, and one of our board members has provided funding to continue the series, and we appreciate that. So actually, the president of our board, Joan Ross Sorkin, is making a generous donation to help make this happen, and we are grateful to her. But I would not be doing my job. Thank you all very much. I would not be doing my job if I didn't remind everyone about the show we have beginning Friday night at 7. It's a Valentine cabaret, or a cabaret Valentine, depending on how you look at it, starring Jay Nickerson and Deanne Love, and directed with music director by Jerry Giffenbach. Begins Friday night at 7 and goes through Monday night at 7. So we hope you'll watch that. It's a lot of fun. Thank you all very much for tuning in, and we will see
you so much.
Soon.
Support New York.
I'll see you for Conrad. Come on.
Yeah.
Conrad. We're up for Conrad.
Conrad.
There's the number to donate to. Thank you all very much.
Common Ground, I'm going to send you.
Common Ground.
Yes, Common Ground. Now that's brilliant. That is a brilliant piece. You've got to hear it. Okay. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Mark.
Bye, y'all.
Bye, Jim. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.